Hello and welcome to another episode of the Beat Review live stream. Here we are. That's the camera right now? No, that's the camera. My bad. Whatever. Here we are. Hello, people. What's good? Yeah. Gotta take one of these. You know? The stream just started. We gotta get a news. So, let's just do a little bit of window management because, again, I suck, as always. But there we have that one. That's cool. There we have that one. Cool. So, hello and welcome. Again. Another week is not the right thing to say. Another second week. Whatever. And another episode of Beat Review. I do see a few people in here, but let's just for the routine of it, let's go through what this shenanigans is all about. Beat Review is my live streaming concept that I do. Is something crazy with the mic? 1 2 1 2. Maybe it's just this. That's a little bit too loud. Yep, that's it. I think that's better. Beat Review is my little concept where I do, beat listening sessions, I guess would be the right thing to say. You guys will be able to, or are able, or has been for 24 hours, able to send in beats to this show or to me. And what I'm going to do here for 2 hours, maybe 2.5, whatever, is just going to listen to beats from people in the community, give my thoughts and feedback and whatever, and people in the chat does the same thing as well. This is a friendly kind of thing. There's no competition going on. No one's better than anyone else. You're allowed to send in stuff. If you're not even making hip-hop beats, that's totally fine. You're allowed to put in stuff in here if you just made your first beat the other week and you want to send it in and submit it and get some feedback, that's fine. So high and low and everyone is welcome. That's what we do in here. And today, this week, I opened the floodgates 24 hours, just like I've done the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to try to move a little bit more quickly than I used to be able to play more stuff, because that's what we all want, right? Sending beats in and it doesn't get played, it sucks. And honestly, that is going to happen today, because I already have well over 20 beats and I can't play 20 beats in a show. I think last week was a lot of them, and I think last episode, 2 weeks ago. We covered a lot of tracks that came in, and I think I played 18, and that felt like a lot. So over 20 beats will become difficult. So I'm telling you this right now. Next episode in 2 weeks, we're not doing that again. We're trying a different thing. Next episode, you're not allowed to send in beats 24 hours before we go live. I want more people to actually have a decent chance to get played. And by lowering the total amount of beats that comes in, enables me to do that in a better way. So next, I'll keep messing this up. Next episode, 2 weeks from now, I'm not going to accept anything that came in 24 hours before. Now, we're going to do something like we kind of used to, but not to include in my website and whatever. You're just going to be able to send me beats on email as we go live, not before. And I know that kind of shuts some people off too, and that's not fair. I know, but I'm still kind of working out the details here. And I'm switching things around every single week, so it becomes difficult for everyone. Yeah, that's whatever. Next episode in 2 weeks. I'm not going to go into the email and look for, emails, submissions that came in 6 hours ago. We're starting at 8, and that's the time. You got to send in your beats at that time and from that time and later on, of course. So as we're live, you're able to send in stuff. That increases the chance of you actually being in the chat room to receiving this kind of feedback. And it also probably gets me a lesser amount of music to play. So good in 2 ways, but also bad. I know. Whatever. But now I've said it. I've made the announcement. Next week, you don't have 24 hours. You don't have that type of window. I'm not going to be that nice next episode in 2 weeks. You're gonna have to send the beat as we start the live stream. And of course, if you don't have good internet, it's, and if you can't be there for exactly that time, it's not fair. That's what we're doing next episode. I decided this like an hour ago, and that's what we're gonna do. All right. Let's just attend to the people for a minute. The plan here, as always, is to include the people in the chat room as much as possible. I'm gonna be able to do that just good enough. So if you're here, hang out in the chat room and participate as much as possible. We have people like Symphonic Beats and Flat Nanders. I love that username, by the way. Carbon Vibes, Moldy Thoughts, Mickey Cuts, KNTV, Wilden Production. You're new here, right? Haven't seen that before. Benj is in the house. Made So Well is in the house. 100%. I'm missing people, of course. Icon74, good to see you. Salberts, I got your text, and yeah. It's like that sometimes. Sometimes you're just not inspired to do stuff, and that's totally fine. Don't stress out about it. It's going to come back. Inspiration comes and goes. You know what it is. But being here, getting some inspiration from the people in the chat room, all the awesome music we're going to play, could be a nice thing. Chris Music Tapes, also someone I don't recognize from before. Hello. Wilden is not new. Oh, my bad. I shouldn't say stuff like that. Makes me look like more of an asshole than I am. Which is not just a bad thing, but, boom, boom, boom. Lax22. Cool. Can we also send a Dropbox link? Yes, that works. That's a good question. I'm not accepting, I need a way for me to, click a link and get access to an actual audio file and put that into my media browser, playback media, get that into VLC media player, basically. So Dropbox definitely works, or Google, whatever you use. I'm a big Dropbox user myself, so that's fine. But I can't do links to YouTube or to SoundCloud or whatever, because that opens in a different way. I want access to the actual file and play it back locally. So yeah, Dropbox works as long as it's a link to an actual audio file. That's fine. Most Fair, good to see you. Vinyl Collector, cool. Yeah, we have some people in here. Awesome stuff. And I've got my Coke, and I got my water, I got my snus, I got the phone. Sending live on your channel. Yeah, cool. That's what it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to live stream because that's what I'm doing, right? So, needless to say, everyone's not going to be able to be played today because as the stream goes, we're gonna receive even more tracks, and I counted it kind of haphazardly, and it's more than 21s. On that email. Logged out again? I was just logged in. Please verify it's you. Yeah, who else would it be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's 4 more in these 10 minutes. So yeah. For this episode right here, I'm just going to try to pick as randomly as possible, and I'm just going to say that flat out. I'm going to try to avoid people who has been played a lot. Like recently, if someone I can't remember all the names. That's just not possible. But if I know that, yeah, you have been played a lot, I might actually skip you. Because, I'm getting feedback. All between these episodes, I'm getting a lot of feedback on Instagram and email and whatever. People are telling me I'm doing stuff wrong, I'm doing stuff right. They're upset that they weren't played and whatever. Not everyone, of course, but today we're going to try to give a little bit of time to people who hasn't been played before. as much or at all. And that's not going to be 100% correct either. Fuck it. I'm going to do whatever I do, and it's going to be fine for everyone. Can we say that? I submitted yesterday. Yep. In this case, you had 24 hours. The window is open for 24 hours before the stream goes live, and that's fine. This week, next episode in 2 weeks, I'm not going to accept that. You're going to have to submit as we go live. So I'm going to clear my inbox whenever I start at 8 o'clock my time. At that point, I don't have any emails at all. No submissions. And then we go live, and I'm getting stuff in, and I'm accepting it. Dunland says, this is my 3rd submission without being played. Hopefully this time it works out. But I understand the difficulty of fairness. Yeah, it's actually really complicated. And some people have really strong opinions about that, and I do respect that. But, if you've sent beats, if you've submitted 3 times and you haven't been played, okay. Hopefully. But honestly, you're not the only one. So, enough talking about this. I think it's time to actually start playing a little bit of music. Playing some of these submissions that I keep talking about at end. And I think it's all set up. That's my inbox. That's my secondary inbox. Let's not care about that one for now, because I don't want any more emails on that one. And here we are on this, and that's the stuff. Cool stuff. And immediately when I look at the names in the submissions, I'm realizing that I'm recognizing a lot of them, but I don't know if I played you last week or last episode or the episode before that. This is not going to be fair. It's not. But I'm going to try my best to be somewhat nice. Fuck me. This is what it is. What I'm feeling here is to sort the emails in the right way, first of all. Mark all as red. No, that's not the right thing. Inbox. Boom. And let's take this one. Today's first submission comes from someone called... there it is. I go by the name of... Immediately I'm going to paste that one in the chat, because that's a minefield to try to pronounce that. The letter 3 inside of it and the letter 0. It's apparently in Spanish. Oh, I can't type in the chat. Yes, I can. I can't paste in the chat. Okay. Why? Copy. Paste. Boom. That's the name of the first producer. So I guess that Manos Tierras. I go by the name of Manos Tierras, which means scissor hands in Spanish. Hello, Accurate, big fan. Wanting to turn this for the analyzation tomorrow. Cheers. I made an WAV file. Okay, but the WAV file is 0. Oh, it's via iCloud. That's totally fine. An iCloud link gives me access to the actual file, and it's right here. Boom, clap. And straight into VLC. That worked. Let's just see if the audio actually comes into... It does. Yeah. I'm learning this. Slowly but steadily. So Scissor Hands is actually in the chat. The track is called IC, like I and the letter C. So let's have a listen to the first submission for today. Good stuff. Let's go.
Calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Yeah, cool. That's Scissor Hands. He's also shouting out where the drums are from. That's cool. First of all, this is a great freaking track. A good start for the show, for real. Now, my first thought here, if I'm just trying to analyze this real quick, is like, yeah, it's cool, it's vibey, it's good. I do really like pretty much everything about this. Is it a little bit repetitive? I think it is. The vocal samples on top of it helps, and that B section and the whole drum fill thing is really cool. Elevates the entire thing to a different level that makes it sound even more like finished. Would it be cool to do something else with the sample somewhere, like chopping it up differently? We have the da 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 da. You could like add some stutters to it, or something that just breaks it up a little bit somewhere, just to kind of. What I'm talking about, the repetitiveness of this one, is not just that it's the same loop over and over, because that's fine, but in sense of the rhythm of it, a part of me feels like a part that has more air in it, that's more empty, or that's just even more chopped up or like loose, would probably add to the dynamics in a way that would kind of be beneficial to the track. I don't know exactly how, but maybe. And since you have the string thing and also the piano notes after that, what happens if you just don't use the string samples and just cut it in at the piano? It's going to feel empty and kind of nothing, and that could be cool, just as a section. But it's nice and laid back and has a good vibe to it, and, you know, everything just sits in the right place. So, because of the slow tempo and like the whole flowiness of the strings, it would be cool just to have a different section that's more chopped up and has more gaps in it. Maybe not, I don't know. That's my first thought. But the drums here, really cool. He shouted out who made them, and, you know, go get the drums. Oh, what happened to the camera? Damn. Oh, okay, that one is frozen. My bad. Or is it frozen for you guys? I guess it is. Let's go into the properties and let's try to switch it up to... Boom, okay. The last instrument, what are you talking about? It feels like early J-Root Damager type shit. Yeah, maybe. Some of his stuff was produced by Premiere too, so. Boom, boom, boom. James says, good beat for a rapper with lots of room. Yeah, that's a perspective I don't really take. But of course. Sure. I'm imagining someone like Ghostface. With that type of voice, you know, Ghostface, Action Bronson, someone like that. It's like nasal and kind of aggressive. Also, someone like me, the way I work right now, I kind of want more of a solid, distinct kind of bass line. There's bass in the beat, there's low frequency material, but like pure notes with a bass line would add to the depth and the heaviness of it. Yeah, that could be cool. But yeah, it's a good fucking track. I can't say anything else. It's a good track and it's dope for a rapper. I can definitely see that. And production-wise, you did a good job. For sure. So that one came from Scissor Hands or Manos Tierras. Manjos Tierras, something like that. I don't speak Spanish for shit, so what would I know? Then we have a beat from someone called... Let's see here. I gotta include the entire list. I gotta be that fair. Daniel. That's a real name. No. Narlo. Narl Swedish Ö, which is an O with 2 dots above it, and W. Narlo. And also Narlo, just as the word Narlo. He has both versions. This is a link to a OneDrive. Okay, that's also fine. No. Don't play it in there. Don't play the beat. It plays. You can't hear it, but it played. Narlo, the track is called I Can Feel. There we are. And the email says something like, "Hi, please find beat attached." Thanks. Narlo, let's go. Totally forgot the time. My bad. Now, there's a lot of talk in the chat about the hi-hats here. And that's the first thing I want to talk about too. And like overall, the mixing of this one, the hi-hat stood out as the first thing in the intro that kind of, I felt like, yeah, that one has to be taken down. But a track like this, it feels like you've done a lot of like brick wall limiting or compression or whatever on the final thing to like master it, and that's what we do. That's fine. But it becomes a little bit strange when the intro is like as loud as everything else, but we have the hi-hats standing out. In the mix, in the thing itself, I kind of understand the hi-hats. I think they're a little bit obnoxious, a little bit too loud, but that's me. A lot of people in the chat room likes that. But in the intro, to me, it becomes like, it feels like you've mixed it in the wrong way. kind of. You haven't. But something about I'm just guessing here. But it feels like something at the end of the process, like the mastering process, went a little bit too crazy, because it kind of took the entire track and just lifted everything, which becomes like unbalanced and undynamic. This is cool. It's a nice build-up. The hi-hat pattern is really interesting and kind of intricate and nice. But at least for the intro, I would try to like fade in the hi-hats or start at a lower level, so then we can actually feel the punch for real when it comes in. So we have a little bit of a difference between the intro and the rest. Imagine the hi-hats lower, kick drum coming in. There we are. That's not it, but you know what I'm saying. Just to add a little bit more dynamics. But we are already on a level where I'm splitting hairs and talking about the details of things. It's a dope track, and someone like me likes this entire thing about like pitching up vocal samples and playing like stuff on the pads, being I can feel. Feels really old school and true to the art form, but you know, it doesn't sound old. It doesn't sound like ancient. And the really loud and really like punchy bass line too just adds to the vibe of, yeah, this is someone inspired by some old school hip hop. And to me, that's just, you know, that floats my boat. That's right up my alley, whatever you want to say. And also the fact that you have a section later on in the track with the vocal chops and everything without all the instruments in the background tells me it's actually two samples and you found a way to combine them, which is always a cool thing. And this, being that playful, like using chops from the sample in kind of unexpected places and ways, makes someone like me just smile inside. It's really cool. But as I said, with a mix of the entire thing, it feels like it's a little bit over compressed or overly like processed at the end. So everything is really, really out there. So you're losing a lot of dynamics like that. So even though the beat is kind of swingy and has a lot of cool, good stuff going on, it feels stiffer and more boxy than it needs to be. I want to breathe a little bit of air into the mix, just taking down that limiter or the last compressors or whatever, just a little bit to make it a little bit more dynamic and leave some space in there. It's supposed to be punchy. It's supposed to be in your face. I get that. But, you know, there's fine details with a mix that could be changed. But, you know, the number of different variations and the alternative versions you have of everything, really cool. That's Dan in the chat room. Glad my tune got played. They just seem to be filtered in at the start, maybe. They just need to be filtered in. Yeah, that could definitely be a thing. Just apply some kind of, what would that be? A low-pass filter to take some of the highs down and then just fade it in. Sure, on the hi-hats. But we're talking about the details because the beat is good as it is. A little bit more dynamic in the mix and, you know, something with the hi-hats. Maybe you want to play with the hi-hat and the velocity values and the entire thing, and maybe the kick drum too, to get some of that, like, not like human feel. You're not going for that, I guess, but, you know. Boom. That's a good track. Thanks a lot for sending it in, Dan. Narlo. I have a problem saying Narlo for some reason. So let's go to a track from someone called Christian Ham. A name I remember and recognize from before, but I doubt that was the last episode. Hi Accurate, congratulations on the new MPC Live 3. I'll see when I can get my hands on one of those. Please see the attached song for review. Name of the song is Chillin' at Cucamonga. It was done in Logic Pro, and then the stems were transferred to an SP404 Mark II for a YouTube video. I don't have Instagram, just my YouTube channel at Chris Music Tapes. I also like to write more complex jazz fusion beats on my MPC-1. That's cool. This one is made in Logic and stems transferred to an SP404. Whatever. Chris Music Tapes is the name, and I lost the file. And I found the file. Okay. Chris Music Tapes, here we go. All right, that's cool. That's really laid back and nice. I'm from Sweden, so I don't know anything. But it made me think about Miami for some reason. I don't know anything about Miami, haven't been there, whatever, but it just made me think about Miami. You know, when it comes to beats and music production in general, sometimes we're getting these submissions that feels like, yeah, there's a difference. I want to get into that sometime, talking about like the term beat maker compared to a music producer, because that's a whole thing in itself. But this feels to me like someone who actually has an ear for how to produce music, both when it comes to the arrangement and the harmonies of everything that's going on, and also the mixing. Professional, high quality stuff. I don't throw around the word professional a lot. You know that by now. I don't like the word professional. Whatever. But this feels like, you know, someone has polished their mix to the point where it sounds just flawless. Everything just mixes really well. That's what the word is, you know? You're doing a mix of something. You're mixing different ingredients into this track. Whether it's chopped up samples, drums, and a bass line, you still have to mix it. Glue things together and create that tension between things. You did a great job with this one. Chris Music Tapes. Damn, this is good stuff. Everything glues together so freaking nicely, and there's so many layers of stuff going on. I was a little bit apprehensive at first with the jazzy chords, because you can easily go wrong with that if you don't know what you're doing. 9 chords and like diminished chords and whatever could be complicated. You did a great job, and everything just came together nicely. Even though, I mean, there's a feeling here. There's a certain aesthetic to this stuff that, it feels like I'm thinking about Brandy and Monica or whatever, 90s R&B stuff, like uplifting and happy, but still kind of grown up and like mature. It's nice. It's not a hardcore rap track and everything. It doesn't have to be. Yes, Albert, thank you. Not professional, but properly done. That's what it is. This is properly done. But I mean, the R&B vocals in the sample, the R&B vocal samples in the beat gives it a flavor that I know everyone doesn't love. People are going to feel like, yeah, Fresh Prince, whatever. And also the bass line made me think about like Will Smith, whatever. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. In this kind of style and in this composition and in its entirety, you couldn't have used a bass line that would have fit better. It's a perfect kind of combination, and it's really good. Is the bass line a little bit different from what someone like me would use? Yeah, of course it is. And that's the beauty of it all. It's all subjective, and we all have different feelings and opinions and ways of doing things. This was just awesome. Took you on a ride, and it felt and it sounded great. And I played the entire track, 2:16. And that kind of slow house vibe of the drum. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff, hands down. And the brass that came in, I don't know if it was a trombone, saxophone, whatever. Good stuff. Good stuff. Big fan of this. Really cool. And also different because the aesthetic here is so specifically 90s, like slow house, R&B, whatever. It's cool. Chris Music Tapes, big up to you. Thanks a lot for being here. Thanks for submitting this one. This one was a blast. High quality stuff. Properly done. Properly done. For sure. I don't have a lot of stuff in terms of criticize, in terms of negative stuff, I want to say, I don't have a lot. Felt exactly the way it was intended, I guess. Now, let's go for a submission from... we got to start with that one, and you, my friend, have been played too much, honestly. Here's a submission from Yosh. Yosh. Yosh Music. Yo, producer and b-boy from Sweden. Cool. Fun stuff with the beat reviews. Bought my first MPC a year ago and been having so much fun with it. Totally different than the Logic Pro behind the disc. For sure. Sending you a breakbeat with live samples and some vinyl ones that I made some time ago. Looking forward to hear the review. Heja Lundgren Skåne. Yeah. Peace. So this one came in from Josh Music. Let me read that again. A breakbeat with live samples and some vinyl ones that I made some time ago. So you made the beat some time ago. Okay, now I get it. A breakbeat. We don't get a lot of stuff that people like themselves just flat out calls a breakbeat. So this is going to be interesting. And since it's going to be interesting, you know what? Let's listen to it. Okay. Normally I don't do this, but I'm trying to get better at being a little bit more quickly with my actual points here. So I'm trying to write down a few words as I listen to it. What I wrote for this one, okay. That's not supposed to be recessions. That's supposed to be percussions. The first line I wrote was, the percussion makes it a breakbeat? Question mark. Because he calls it a breakbeat and he's a b-boy as well as a beatmaker. So he knows more about breakdancing than I do. And I felt like, okay, so we don't have the tempo, we don't have the energy to be like a full-on old school kind of breakbeat in my book. So my question was, the percussions makes it breakbeats? Huh. And then adding on top of that, the flute makes it a breakbeat. That's what I feel like. Using a flute sample like that in that kind of way on top of anything, it so much feels like a breakbeat kind of thing to do. And I appreciate it, and it's cool. It's cool. When you say a breakbeat, I'm old school enough to think that you're talking about like you know. This was still a breakbeat, but for top rocking, I guess. Something like that. Sounded good, sounding cool. One thing that I'm lacking just a little bit, if I could be like that, is some type of like reoccurring type of melody, because we have the chords, da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, whatever that was, and the bass line. And then the flute came in and brought it all together in a really cool way. But maybe some type of melody line, just a few notes here and there that makes me kind of remember this one. Because right now I don't feel like I have a lot of musical content to kind of remember this track by, so to speak. You know, the whole art form of writing a hit or whatever. It feels like everyone doesn't need to do that. That kind of sucks, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know. Some type of melody that's more like clear and obvious, and the table is shaking, I know. Other than that, I mean, all the percussion work and the drums feels great, and the flute feels great. And what stands out with this one to me is how well the bass line, these weird pitched bass notes that goes like, how they work. It's really cool. It's nice. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Also the whole groove beat out. Of course, the groove and the feeling and like the swing of it all. That makes it, I don't know, dance compatible. I have a hot take about dance, but let's leave that for a different. You know, we just played a breakbeat from a b-boy, so whatever. Good stuff. Good stuff. Some type of melody maybe, but maybe not. Maybe that's not what you do in this genre. What the fuck do I know? But I appreciate how things just work together. The bass line in particular, it sits really nice in the mix. So thanks a lot to Yosh from Sweden. Heja Lundgren Skåne, yeah, for sure. It's the only snooze I really consume. So thank you. Great to have you. Should we go into someone called Simon Ericson? One thing I do remember about Simon Ericson is that I shouted him out on this thing I did when you had to be online and he wasn't here, so we just didn't play it. Now we could. Hi, Accurate. I hope you're doing good. I go on the name of, yeah, this one again. CYZEZZ. And been played here 2 times before, and I thought it's time to share another one. The beat is called Paralyzed, and all samples are from 3 different songs on the same record. Melody, percussion, and the bass, except from the drums. It's recorded straight from my MPC into Ableton, so I just did some small mixing in the MPC and a quick master in Ableton. Cool. Hope you like it. Appreciate the channel a lot. Keep it up. Peace och ha det gött. Ha det gött. CYZEZZ. So that's Scissor. Scissor. I'm also going to take the liberty to call you Simon. Let's go. Cool. Now, I might be misremembering. In that case, forgive me. But I think we've had something from this guy before with like classical samples, which is cool. Now, the first thing that kind of struck me about this one is that the entire mix feels like it's, let's see here, that's not mirrored. I might fuck this up. If this is the low frequencies and these are the high frequencies, it felt like the entire mix was shifted a little bit like that. Not this crazy, but you know, it felt like we had a lot of punchiness and a lot of depth and stuff in the lower frequencies, and then we had a lot of mids, but a part of me just misses a little bit of that sharpness and crispness. The snare drum, for instance, is really nice, but I bet if you just shifted the EQ curve on the entire master output just a little bit, you would get even more of that snappiness and even more of that crispy, like psh. That's the first thing. It just struck me as a little bit bass heavy and shifted that way. Not sure that makes sense on camera, but you know. And now my voice is is my voice starting to go now? Now I sound like I should. Kinda. 1 2 1 2. Okay. I get a little bit, you know, the monster in me just comes out sometimes and it becomes a good freaking track, and I love the switch up with the more like involved string section. And there's something beautiful when you have kind of, when everything meets at this really nice place when it comes to the swing and the rhythm of it all. Like a sample like this, music like this isn't supposed to feel like this. Of course not. I mean, the sample material. And then you take it and you put this really heavy like rhythm section with drums and stuff on it, and everything just swings and becomes natural like that. And that's the thing that's also really easy to get wrong, you know? Adding too much swing or too much wonkiness to something that's supposed to be straight doesn't become good. And doing the opposite, like taking something that's really funky and groovy and putting some stiff drums on it, no. You need to find the balance, and I think you did that really well here. really well. And you know, a lot of what I'm talking about with the rhythm and the feeling here is not just the drums and the sample. The bass line does a lot of heavy lifting too. You know, traditionally we talk about the rhythm section as the drums and the bass, and sometimes people forget about that, me included. But you just need to get the drums and the bass line to speak the same kind of language and understand each other. Then you're halfway there, and you did a great job. So, Scissor, Simon, great job. Thanks a lot for sending a track over. Playing that one was a blast. You know, someone mentioned Big Pun, and yeah, you could imagine Big Pun on that one, or even Fat Joe back in the day. Digging in the Crates, DITC, whatever that album was called, that could fit right in there. Big L and all that stuff. Great stuff. Cool, old school, hip hop, boom bappy, kind of me likey. Then we have, okay, this could be a cool follow-up, but don't think we're gonna do it today. Benjamin W sent a mixed version of the track from last episode. That's Benj in the chat. I wanted to give you the good mixed version. It's nicer to the ear. You know what? Let's actually play it. Let's not talk too long about it because it was included before. But now let's hear the properly mixed version. Just because. Cool. And I misunderstood the entire thing. He sent the track for this week's episode, and then he sent the properly mixed version for this week's episode. We haven't played this one before. My bad. You know what? This track is interesting to me because we talk about A sections and B sections and stuff all the time, and switch ups and breakdowns and chip chops and flippity flaps. In this case, there's a lot of cool creative choices going on in terms of the arrangement. I found myself just sitting here waiting for the next exciting thing to happen, but also realizing that, hey, what's going on right now is actually pretty dope. It's just the drums and the bass line for a while. So leaving a longer section in the track, that kind of sparse and that empty, is a different kind of choice. It's interesting, and in this case, it's so appealing. It's so nice to be able to just sit there and just enjoy it without having too much stuff going on. Sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, don't get me wrong. It's a full track and it has everything it needs, for sure. But the arrangement, leaving spaces that's not just full blast doing everything. Makes me notice that flute sample in a whole different way, and like grabs me emotionally in a different way than if it was like too busy with stuff going on. Benj, this is cool. We talk about dynamics in terms of volume and whatever, but dynamics in terms of the entire arrangement, this is really, really interesting. And the swing, super swingy, super cool, super vibey, and it sounds really good. I did some crazy manual noise reduction on the drums too, with spectral editing. I've left the before after in Rockwell's DMs. Okay, cool. It also has, I mean, we shout out Portishead and Massive Attack and stuff all the time, and this sounds a little bit like that too. Whatever that genre is called. Forgetting right now, but yeah. Super nice and subby bass line that just fills out the space. You don't need more than that sometimes. The flute sample and stuff comes in, and then we go ham with everything. Beautiful stuff. That's the section I'm talking about, the piano and stuff. When everything happens, right now. I mean, this is just good. Really vibey and could fit very well into a video game or a movie or something. Good stuff. Thanks a lot, Benj. Always love having you. You know that? That's a dope track right there. Let's move on to someone else. That's a YouTube link. Not gonna happen. I'm sorry. It's a headache. I don't wanna do that. Should we play a track from Alan Taylor from the Beatcast? He was I think he is in the chat. Ill Al from the Beatcast. He's also more than that. He's just Ill Al. He's a great beat maker. Hope this is the correct format. Enjoy, I hope. It's a WAV file. Can't do anything wrong with a WAV file. Shared via iCloud. Ill Al, and the track is called Better Arrogance. Better Arrogance? Better Arrogance. Being from Sweden and saying better arrogance. Better arrogance. Al, let's go! Yeah, definitely sounded like Il Al for sure. I'm starting to kind of understand your sound and everything. You know, when you go for something this vibey with this many different layers and samples going in and out, and those really minimalistic but sharp drums, just adds a vibe to the entire thing. It just feels good. Feels good to listen to. And the combination of all the instruments that goes on here, like the Rhodes piano samples pitched around and whatever, and that funky kind of guitar, but still keeping the tempo low and still keeping the minimalistic thing. You know, tasteful. Tasteful. Made So Well says, this got soul. Everyone seems to like this a lot. And I do too. This kind of, I keep calling it minimalistic because that's one of the words I wrote down. But also, that's what it feels like to me. If I would have all these samples, I would go in a total different direction. Just going full blast with everything. Just creating this whole thing. And you have the taste to not do that. And be a little bit more nuanced and a little bit sparse with it. And just keeping it. But still adding all the vibes and stuff. And the bass line does a lot of heavy lifting here. If I wanted to say something critical about this one, it would have to do with the mix somehow. The mix feels like it's a little bit all over the place. If I wanted to be like super critical, all over the place is not the right thing to say either. I feel like I'm listening to headphones, by the way, so that kind of affects everything. But it feels like some of the things are a little bit almost too sharp and they stand out in a way that's not necessarily pleasant every time it happens. So I'm just trying to give some type of feedback, you know. And I don't know how to deal with that. Maybe just finding some of the frequencies on the spectrum and just taking some notches down on the EQ. I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the side chaining and the compression and stuff, because there's a lot of that too. But this is really good. Really good. I mean, Il Al, what can you say? He is good. Il Al knows what he's doing. That's for sure. But maybe, yeah, Beat Out points out the snare. Maybe. It could be warmer. It could be. And maybe this is a stylistic choice to not do it like too round. You want it to kind of, you know, itch a little bit. I respect that. But still, some of the frequencies becomes a little bit too sharp to me on these headphones right now. I might be wrong. I'm also deaf on one ear, so who the fuck am I to talk? Yeah, you said it best yourself. The beat cast in the chat room is Il Al, the producer of this one. You said it right. Cleaning it up. That might be it. Just clean it up a little bit, but not too much. Not too much. You still want some of that grittiness in there. To me, it becomes kind of an ear sore. But just, we're talking about the details. We're getting into the details. When we have beats that are really well produced and really good, we're talking about the details, making all the small things sound way bigger than they are. Whatever. Let's move along. Let's move along to this one. Oh, okay. Lax 22. You have been played, but still. I opened the email, so now it's going to happen. And I don't know if you were featured last show. Yo, Accurate. Working on a new project. Busy picking beats for the release. I've sampled a mid-70s joint from Eastern Europe this time. Straight resampling into the SP404 Mark II. Excited for some feedback on this one, as there's a big chance it will make the cut. Can we take the responsibility for that? I'm not sure. I'll probably include some tracks that you have showcased on earlier streams as well, by the way. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. And it's a link to Instagram and also an audio file. Thank you for that. This track from Lax22 is called Fantastic Idiot, and let's have a listen. Imagine if the track would play when I did it like that. That would have been cool. Didn't happen though, but now it happens. Okay. Cool. Lax22. I mean, there's not much to say. High quality stuff. What confuses me about this concept in this stream is that we're just getting great stuff these days. In the beginning, we had some weird things. You know, we had some super strangely mixed trap music, and we have stuff that was all like distorted to trash, and things not being on key or on beat. Now we're getting good stuff. It's awesome. Not saying that you're not allowed to send in stuff that's not good. I want more stuff that sucks, actually. But yeah, this is cool. So vibey and so nice, and I just wanna talk to Lax22 about this one. How many different samples are in here? And how much did you have to work to make everything just work together? Because it feels like there's a lot of different elements from a lot of different tracks, and that's impressive just in itself. But it's also a good piece of music, just as it is. And, you know, if you wouldn't have done all these small, like, chops of the track itself, it would feel a little bit bland, I guess. If we just had a boom dum 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 da 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 dum dum the entire time over. So the chops and the breakups and the stutters and everything adds a lot to the vibe of it. It feels so much more than just the loop it could have been, if that makes sense. And I also want to point out that thing with the flutes when it goes like, oh, I can't make that sound. What am I doing? Using that in a track without letting it take the overhand again, tasteful, nice, and it fits well, it sits just right, it adds a lot of vibe to it, and it feels cool. I guess it's like a vibrato, whatever you want to call it. Rockwell 3 times with the same message. Did the loop point change slightly at any point, or was it only the stutter from the plugin or whatever? Why did you ask that 3 times? Tremolo. Thank you. I know that's a tremolo. Vibrato. Rockwell might be onto something. Maybe there's some stuff with the looping being not 100% accurately placed. I didn't pick up on that, but maybe. James just wants his answers. Yeah, maybe he does. And it's fine to type something 3 times. Kidding. A part of me wants a little bit more volume out of the bass. If it's isolated and you're able to do that, it would be kind of cool, I think, to just give, 2 dB more of the bass line. If it's not possible, forget that I ever said anything. Love that snare drum too, by the way. Just want to point it out. Love the snare drum. Thanks a lot for this one. Lax22. Great stuff. Let's move along. Let's move on to a submission from someone called JH138. JH138. Hi, Accurate, long-time listener. Here's a submission from my last beat tape, Old Style, called Lo-Fi Violence. Thank you all for the great videos. Keep up the fantastic work you do for the beat-making community. Hope you enjoy. So this one came from JH138. JH138. Lo-Fi Violence. Let's go. So, I'm fucking everything up. Clicking all over the place. My bad. And that's not fair to him, so let's start it all over. Lo-Fi Violence from JH138. Now, let's go. Okay, there's a lot of stuff to talk about here. First of all, sorry that I made someone confused. I messed everything up with my computer, but we restarted and he got played for real. And now that camera is also, I don't know. 1, 2, 1, 2. We're back. So, this felt like 3 tracks in one. And we're not gonna like, you know, take everything apart. But the first section to me, now I'm gonna be a little bit harsh. This whole first section to me, you know, you have everything. You have the drums, you have the bass line, you have the chopped up sample, but oh my god. Chill. Again, I said it. I'm gonna be a little bit harsh. This has everything. The vibe of the samples and everything is just there. But why is it that fast? I would have just, you know, what is that in terms of BPM? And just take that number, take like 15 BPMs off it, and just pitch everything down and make the entire thing live. I mean, taking it down 15 BPM might be a little bit much, but still, it needs to be way slower and way like moodier because you have all that stuff in there. The sample has a lot of that kind of vibes going on, but you're just not allowing it to come through because it's that crazy. Prism says it's like 132 BPM. It's not, but it's, to me, too fast for what it is. The composition, everything is in there. I can definitely hear that the stuff is in there. But this one just needs to be slowed way down. I don't know, 80 BPM. And it's not because I'm just stupid, but I just don't have the time to realize what I'm hearing before the next thing happens, and it just, blah. It's like 92? This can't be 92. Where's the BPM counter on the new MPC? Note repeat. Time correction? No. Where's the tap tempo? There it is. Okay, let's try it out. Yeah, I'm getting about 97. So when I said take it down 15 BPMs, I wasn't that off. I think you need to slow it way down. But it's, you know, it has potential. It has all the building blocks in there. This, stronger. Stronger, stronger, stronger. And you find a good balance with the bass for both the two different sections. This should have been a submission in its own, just this section. That's good. This one sits so much better compared to the first one. Okay, you are in the chat room. JH138. Thanks for the feedback, guys. Yeah, please don't be offended by this. I just felt like you have so much potential there. All the sounds and everything, all the slices and everything sounds good, but, you know, slow it down a little bit. But thank you. I think we're going to leave that one after just totally slaughtering it for being too quick. But, you know, musicality comes in all sorts of ways. Fast beats, slow beats, whatever. This one just felt like a much slower beat, and you just sped it up. And I got to point that out. That's what I feel like I'm here to do. Let's refresh the inbox. Yeah, we still have a lot of beats to go through, so we're just going to move on. We have a track from Troy. No, we don't. That's on SoundCloud. Not going to happen. I'm sorry. Are you picking up that I'm being more kind of obnoxious about these things? I'm not like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to play. I'm just, no, not doing it. Because we have so many submissions. Now, yeah, this is from someone who has been featured before, and I would love to hear this, but yeah, I'm the out-of-tune guitar VST guy. Aditia, Cloudcherry. You don't have a file attached. Doesn't look like. I would have played it, but it doesn't feel like there's an actual file. And you haven't sent it in again, have you? Yes, you have. My bad. In case we have to submit live, submitting this again. Okay. Aditia Chowary. Is this perfect? Should I change anything? The name of YouTube channel is Mr. Sting, a gaming channel. I'm the out-of-tune guitar VST guy. And the name of the email is YouTube channel intro music. So you made a track that's supposed to be an intro for someone else's or for a YouTube channel about gaming. Jesus. So, a little bit of context here. We had this guy a few weeks ago, and I don't want to say that I was too harsh on him, but there was something wrong with the track. The guitar was way out of tune, and everyone kind of noticed it, and I went on way too long talking about the same stuff. So we're going to keep it brief, but we're going to give him a listen. You know? That's loud. Oh, it's an intro for a YouTube thing. It's 22 seconds long. He asks if it's perfect. Let's see if it's perfect. 22 seconds long. Let's play it again. So I guess there's a little bit of a language barrier here too. He asks if it's perfect, and I'm joking. No, it's not perfect. That's not, Is it good and functional for the purpose? I think it could be. The white noise in like the middle of it, when the riser hits like the max point and it just becomes white noise, I think that's too much. But I guess it's supposed to be like really punchy and engaging, and gaming channels does that. It's not supposed to be like soulful and beautiful. It's supposed to be punchy and in your face and like whatever. And I think it serves the purpose, but I do think that white noise in the middle, it's just too much. And we have to consider aesthetics here too, because if it's something that's made for an intro for a YouTube channel about gaming, it's not comparable to anything else we've heard. It's a jingle. It's a little thing. The riser, the whole filter thing in the beginning. Sorry. The filter rising in the beginning there is effectful and kind of cool. I would have cleaned up the snares a little bit, using like not so many different snare samples, but keeping it consistent more to make it feel like an actual track is about to start, and then it doesn't. That's my main point of criticism, I think. Lower the volume of the white noise because it becomes too much. It kind of hurts. And change up the snares a little bit to make it more consistent with like one or maybe two different snare sounds, because now it's all over the place. And that's, it's a submission that's 22 seconds long. What I can say about this, though, is that your last track that you sent in had some issues with the pitch and stuff. I did not pick up anything of that in this one. This feels proper, but then there's aesthetic choices to be made. But hey, let's move along. 22 seconds. Okay, I completely lost my Safari window. And it doesn't show up. Show all windows. There we are. So thanks a lot for submitting that one. It's interesting to try to give feedback on something that's not an actual piece of music. And this one, I think it serves the purpose, but I think what I said is true. So, do we have another submission from someone? Yes, we do. Let's play a track from Flat Nanders, who has been featured a lot, but I think it was a while ago. So, hey Accurate, here's another beat I made on the SP404 Mark II. Again, a simple 4-bar loop with some variations and stuff on top of it. I exported the whole beat and made it louder in FL Studio. Looking forward to hear your feedback. Hope I can fully watch the stream because I'm at work. Fuck work, man. Stay here instead. Hang out with us and listen to music. Flat Nanders, a track. Nice. Isn't it cool though? Isn't it funny and kind of awesome and cool and great how much a hi-hat pattern can change something? Boom, dum, 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 dum. Awesome. We haven't had a beat with that amount of swing in a while on the show. And it's just worth pointing out that that type of rhythm, that type of groove doesn't always work. But when it does, and it hits the way it should, it hits hard. Musically speaking, this one doesn't have a lot of stuff going on, but all the different elements in there are good. And that's great. That's what you need. The melody of it all is like really mysterious and kind of cool and suspicious and whatever. And the drums. Prism is saying exactly what I wanted to say. I'd like to hear a melody line. Maybe a pad to take up the empty space. Yeah, I think this is, when you're working on the track, sometimes you're in this position where you have something really cool Sometimes it's almost a superpower to just leave it and just say, hey, it's done. I don't need to touch it anymore. I just don't need to add more stuff to it. It's nice as it is. And sometimes it's also the opposite of that. You have to kind of zoom out and realize that, hey, it's a cool idea and it's really great for what it is, but it does need something else somewhere. And I think this beat goes both ways. It could be, it's just good enough as it is. It's supposed to be minimalistic and sparse. Nice. Or, just a few, just hitting the thirds or the quints or whatever it's called in English sometimes, and just adding a few piano notes or string, I don't know, something could just take it up to that next level. You could use, like, what you have here could be 90% of the beat and just have one section where you introduce something that's different and stands out. That would take the entire thing to a different kind of level. But the vibe here and the smoothness and the feeling, the mood, it's great. I think it's really cool. Something like just bling, 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 bling. Whatever. There's so much room to add something. Maybe you haven't because you kind of don't want to, because you want it to be this minimalistic, and I get that. It would be interesting to hear a version with something else, something more added. Arbus keeps asking, is it too late to submit? No, it's still up here, right? Difficult. Send beats to... Send beats to beatreview at accuratebeats.com. That's really hard with the finger to realize and look at the same time. Beatdown says it has a lot of character, and it does. It has a lot of character, a lot of personality, and it's really cool and vibey. All I'm saying is that there are space to add something more. I would love to hear something more. Maybe that's worse, but it could be cool. But what if there's a feature on it? I mean, that makes the entire difference. If you have kind of a wrapper on top of it, that's a whole different scenario. So thank you, Flat Nanders, who in the chat room said thanks for the feedback. Doing it on the SP makes it hard to control, but would love to have sidechain on it. Huh? Maybe not though, because the sidechaining would take out stuff as the kick drum goes. And I don't know. Maybe it could be cool for the vibe. Maybe not. And thank you, Chris52. There's never a guaranteed to be played. Lots of beats get sent in. Thank you for saying so. And that's the honest truth. And I'm going to say it again. Do we have any people here? We have almost 70 people. I'm going to say it again. Next episode in 2 weeks, we're not doing this. I'm not accepting beats in beforehand. I'm just accepting submissions next show when the show starts. So 8 o'clock my time, and the time that it says on the website. That's the time I'm going to start looking at the inbox. So if anything comes in before that, it's not going to be played. This, I don't know what this is, but it's something. Hand movements. Arbus, I already got your submission right here. But before we get into that, let's do this one. From Puerto Ricoism? Puerto Ricoism. That's difficult for me to pronounce. Who says, an MC first, I'd like to make beats from time... an MC first. I like to make beats from time to time. This link is to one of my songs. Yeah, but you also submitted the actual file. I like that. May we collab on a song a day? May we collab on a song one day? Don't know. Maybe, maybe not. The attached file is a beat I made using Native Instruments Machine. Thank you. So I guess that's Prism in the chat room, who's named like Prism and Puerto Ricoism. So let's play your track and let's check. Okay, my God. Can we collab? I'm not gonna comment on that because, you know. Let's just play the track. Okay. I might be wrong. Help me out if this is just flat out me. The hi-hat was so freaking sharp. Am I the only one noticing that the hi-hat was so sharp I just have to take my headphones off just to get a little bit of, you know. Whew! I can hear something else, you know. If I'm wrong, if I'm the only one, please tell me. If you kind of agree, please tell me. To me, the hi-hats were really sharp and really like ear-piercing in a way that's not very nice. It's not very nice. It sounded distorted. I don't know. It's all, you know, when it comes to mixing and frequencies and instruments like that, one, we all have different ears and different ways of hearing stuff. We gotta point that out. And depending on what kind of headphones or what kind of speakers or what kind of setup or what kind of, you know, room sound treatment you got, things sounds different in different speakers, is what I'm trying to say, and for different people. I just found the high. I had a hard time listening to anything else, to be honest. I didn't, but you have a different section. The hi-hat right there is loud, but kind of fine. And then it gets pitched up, and that's when it becomes ear-piercing to me. In these headphones right here, right now. Other than that, I mean, this type of trap beats is not something I know much about, and I don't listen to this stuff. But you made good choices with the guitar and with the bass. I think it fits well together. And I understand like the intricacies that goes into programming snare rolls like that, and it's kind of cool. It's not something I do, but it's kind of cool, like that thing. Not bad, but also a beat like this, is it supposed to have a wrapper on top of it? Because in that case, it kind of makes sense. But to me, you have this really sharp hi-hat up here. Then you have the rest of the drums. You have the guitar thing. And then you have this really deep 808 sub. Still, to me, somehow, I'm not getting a full... It doesn't sound full. It doesn't sound pleasing in a musical kind of way. Everything doesn't need to have like 7-note chords and stuff. I know. But still, it feels like there's something missing. Maybe it's me not understanding the genre. In that case, it's on me 100%. But it feels like you could have added something in like the mids. Just talking about the frequency spectrum. We got a lot of bass. We have too much of the crispy treble. And the guitar just sits... I want something that makes it a little bit smoother. And we have these large chunks without the bass notes that makes it feel like empty. Am I wrong here? It's an Asian sound. Yeah, I called it a guitar. That's my bad. It's of course some kind of Asian string instrument. There's too many of them to know them all, but you know. The notes and the sequence is kind of cool, but it needs to be filled up with something else. According to me, and I don't know the genre, I might be wrong. Prism, what are you saying? It's 2 sets of hi-hats. Yeah, so I have a huge problem with one of them, and I think that the volume of them is a little bit over-exaggerated. But yeah. I don't want to be too harsh on it, because I don't fully understand the genre. I never understood this thing with like 32-note hi-hats and stuff. I don't understand it. I don't get the appeal. What would you add? That's a good, concise, concrete kind of question. And it's also distorted in a way that's not very pleasing. For starters, I would use the bass line you have right there and like extend it maybe over the entire track, maybe with bass, but also with something else. I'm not going to say a Rhodes piano. I'm not going to say an organ because it doesn't fit in this genre, but maybe some kind of synth sound. Maybe those bass notes played on something that makes an arpeggio. A 16-note arp could be kind of cool in the background, just playing notes doing sometimes. Maybe that's an idea. In this genre, I think strings could work, right? Addition by subtraction. Ease up on the sprinklers. Yeah, that's also a thing. Just have a section in the track without the hi-hats and see how that feels. I would add some type of synth that just that sets the bass notes that are in here, because the guitar, the Asian string instrument, has notes in there, but I want them to be. I want some type of. What's that called in English? I want some type of ground stone. I want something to ground it. I want to be kind of involved in knowing what notes I'm in the entire time. And you have that information in the bass notes. So using those in a different instrument, in a different layer, maybe on an arpeggio that does more notes for you, or maybe just something else that moves in the background, something with a filter that goes up and down, or something with some type of tremolo, something that adds a little bit of movement and a little bit of depth, so to speak. Foundation is the word. Thank you. I want something to set the foundation of the notes. Normally in my kind of music, that should be, a chord, a 3 or 4 or 5 note chord. Doesn't have to be that. It could be a monophonic synth doing an arpeggio, something like that. Or strings, a string sound. To know what key you're in at all times. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because I know it's not samples, and we're talking too long about this one. I know. I know you're not using samples. This is a VST instrument with this Asian kind of string instrument, and that's cool. But in context, they feel like nothing's happening, and then it comes in, and then you take it out, and then it comes back in. I want something to kind of keep me engaged, like a foundation that tells me what notes we're in. What's the key? What's the root note? Where am I? Where's the loop point? Where's my home? Something that just sets that solidly. That's enough of my feedback for this. And please do something about the hi-hats. To me, it's crazy. Not necessarily the programming, that could be fine, but the sound of it. Let's move along to something else. We have a track from Mohammed Sharif. Hey, Accurate. It would be an honor if you could review my beat. I'm not a very experienced beat maker, and it will be helpful to get feedback from you. I can't read for shit today. What am I doing? It would be an honor if you could review my beat. I'm not a very experienced beat maker, and it would be helpful to get your feedback. I appreciate you, Sharif. Mohammed Sharif. Something like that. Not a very experienced beat maker. That could be interesting. Let's check it out. And by the way, I really appreciate whenever people point stuff like that out. I'm not very experienced. That's a good piece of information to have. So let's have a listen. Okay, cool. So a not very experienced beatmaker who wants some feedback. I think that's cool. In this case, we gotta figure out on what kind of level to deliver the feedback. Mixing is difficult, and we're not going to get too much into that. But there are some stuff with the mix here that could be improved that would make a big difference. But it feels to me like you are kind of nailing a few different things here when it comes to the notes and how things plays out. Everything's not right, but most of the things are. What's interesting here is also that you chose to do this. You chose to do this kind of sloppy drum pattern, and that's interesting for a beginner, because my recommendation would be introduce that kind of sloppiness and this off-the-grid kind of vibe whenever you are ready for it. That's not the first thing to start off with. But you have done it here, and it's not badly done, but there's some flamming or something going on with the snare, I think. So you move the snare to the right, which makes it feel like sloppy and off the grid. But as we said before, who am I to say what you need? I think it's beneficial to have all the different parts being equal. If something's sloppy, maybe something else also needs to be just as sloppy. Because in this case, I feel like most of the musical notes and stuff that's going on here is kind of on grid, kind of on point. And the drums are not. The drums could be cool, but maybe for something else. It's a little bit of a mishmash going on here, to me. The drums and the thought you had there, I totally understand what you did, and I do appreciate it. But I'm not sure it works perfectly with the notes and the musical parts in it. If we want to do like rhythmical parts and musical parts as two different ones. And overall, like the overall mix here needs to be brighter and louder for it to actually kind of translate well. And that's a whole thing in itself. That's that's an art form in itself. Mixing is hard, and you did a job here, but I think it could be improved. You need more clarity. You need more of the high frequencies. Don't be scared of letting it punch out of the speakers. Made So Well says exactly what I'm thinking. Two different styles happening. Yeah. Benj says there's a push and pull that needs to be adhered to. Almost like the laws of gravity. And slop needs to balance out to achieve this. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm glad you agree that I'm not just wrong. Whenever you want things to be sloppy, I think it makes sense to go all the way there. Sometimes you need contrast, yeah. But if you're a new beginner, I think it's too early to go into that route and experiment with that. I think it makes more sense to keep everything straight at the beginning, or try to find a balance where it's sloppy, but it's not off the grid. And that's difficult. But when it comes to the piano chords and the stuff that's going on, I don't have a lot of stuff to complain about. Some notes aren't like totally in the scale and whatnot. Maybe they are, but it doesn't really come out. The bass line sits nicely. Sampled or not? That's a good question. And Mohammed is in the chat. True. I do not quantize finger drumming and then quantize the other instruments. Cool. Yes. I'm not as stupid as I look, right? Sometimes I'm actually right. You finger drummed the drums, non-quantized, and then quantized the rest of the stuff. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's not a sample, by the way. It's a full composition. However, if we divide it into rhythmical and musical content, there's a mismatch between them. I was right. That's cool. I hear some Dr. Dre type of drums with those pianos. Yeah, it's a little bit of... I get the reference. And just to be clear here, Mohammed, just to be totally transparent and clear about this is not bad. For a beginner, this is not bad. I'm talking about like aligning the drums and the instruments in the same way and whatever. You're making stuff that has drums, bass, and musical, what we call samples, even though it's not a sample, it's actual notes played in. It's not bad. It's not bad. You're on the way there, 100%. But you are a new kind of producer and you want the feedback. My feedback would be find the sweet spot when it comes to the groove. Make the drums and the rest of the stuff speak the same language. I used Soulify drum plugin. I don't know what that is, but sure, the drums are what they are. But you know, the notes you used in here, it all makes sense. And this last part, there's a note that's off key, but you're playing around with different note values and different harmonics like that, and that's cool. That's interesting. But it falls apart basically because it doesn't match up, the drums and the vibe. But in terms of like being a new producer, it's music. It has everything in there. It's not like you didn't use a bass line. You did, and you did it as good as you could. And that whole syncopated bam, 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 bam. If you could add punchiness and get the groove to translate through everything and fix the frequencies in the mix, I wouldn't have had much to say about this. Now I had a few things to say, and I see that the chat room is really helping out. That's good. Yeah, everyone in the chat room is so mean. This is so good. Yeah. And he says, I appreciate the feedback from you, Accurate, and the chat as well. Yeah, please don't misunderstand any of us to be like too critical. We're trying to give you feedback, and it feels like you're kind of appreciating it and understanding what we're saying. And I think it's so freaking valuable to have stuff like this submitted to the show. Sometimes it's just awesome to have tracks that are just polished and finished and whatever. And this is a new producer who wants to get into it and starts to make stuff, and it's already on this level. I think that needs to be... I salute you, Mohammed. Good work. And I keep calling you Mohammed. You refer to yourself as Sharif. Sorry. And we need to mark that one as read and played. Boom, there we are. Let's do a few more. Let's take this one from Arbus, who has been asking away in the chat. Arbus sends... okay, let's see. I didn't catch that we couldn't send links. And... that's one thing, and that's the WAV file. Okay, cool. It's to a Google Drive, and that's fine. That's fine. Links are fine, as long as I can access the actual file from the link. SoundCloud, Bandcamp, YouTube, that doesn't work. But a link like this definitely works. So this one comes from Arbus, and the track is called Good Morning, Bitch. Okay. Good morning, bitch. Need to change the camera again, and let's play the track. My bad. I'm sorry. That's the first time today, I think. So what I was saying is this. You guys will have to help me out here. You guys will have to help me out. I am, if you don't know this since before, I'm completely deaf on my right ear. I am a SSD, single-sided deafness, single-sided deaf person, whatever. I only have one functioning ear, and it's the left one. Normally, I have my output sent to mono, so the right and the left track goes into one single headphone. In this one, I felt that something was kind of crazy. Something was wrong with the mix. I couldn't hear all the stuff that I just guessed were in there. So I switched around from mono to not mono. So in one of the modes, I had a hi-hat that I could hear. And in the other mode, there was no hi-hat. So I guess the hi-hat is just on one of the speakers, right? And that kind of confuses me. So what I'm hearing with the hi-hat and the one I hear without the hi-hat has the same kind of problem to it when it comes to the mix and the track itself. It's too quiet. It's not loud enough. And the drums itself. Now I need to switch it back again. I don't know if there's a lot of compression going on that just makes everything muffled and whatever, but I have a hard time. We were all deaf there for a second. What do you mean by that? Oh, yeah, because my microphone was off. Cool. I'm a solid state drive. No, that's not what it means. SSD is single-sided deafness. And that's something I have to live with. That's my kind of issue. But this track becomes hard to talk about because the hi-hat is obviously put in kind of a weird place and that needs to be fixed somehow. And also there's too much compression going on or something that just makes everything muffled and like put through a filter, which makes it hard to kind of distinguish what's what and what's not. Now, we had the kind of hard rocky kind of guitar riff, and together with the drums, it becomes something. And two different bass things that goes together. But something about this mix doesn't translate. It doesn't feel finished, it doesn't feel mixed, it doesn't feel like much at all. It kind of plays from a phone speaker that someone put in their back pocket, which is one thing. Musically, this is kind of cool. It's a little bit hard to kind of point out what's wrong with it, but there's something. And it's maybe a little bit bland, a little bit flat, and it's not too much stuff going on. I would like to see even more things happening. And this one was from Arbus. Okay, cool. Who has been active in the chat. So please, talk amongst ourselves, you know. The drums have center cancellation. Okay. Too much EQ, cut way too much. Some of the guitars are super wide. Maybe the hi-hats issues in mono. Kicks and snares are low passed. I think this is my most experimental mix I've done. Okay, cool. So maybe it could be appreciated by someone with two functioning ears. To me, I just want more clarity, more treble in the mix, and more balance, a better balance. On that kind of guitar thing, we do have a few higher frequencies, but it feels like, it almost sounds to me like you put a low pass filter on the entire thing. And honestly, I've been deaf on one ear for 5 years now. And this is probably the first time I actually noticed an issue like this. Because whenever I put the entire mix in mono with the 2 tracks, it becomes super strange, super weird, and that's not your fault. That's what I'm saying. Why I'm saying that people in the chat room will. And Arbus says, I already think I have a clearer mix. Yeah, okay. A different one than this one? I don't know. This made me feel in a specific kind of way about myself, and I'm not sure I like it. I'm not sure I like it at all. Damn, that's crazy. Does it phase? I don't know. I can't hear phase cancellation, you know? Yeah, you had an operation. Yeah. I had a brain tumor, and they removed it, and they also removed my entire hair. I don't even know the word in Swedish. They just had to remove the entire thing that, you know, the nerves, the hearing nerve. That's what it's called, nerve. The hearing nerve between my right ear and the brain. So it just doesn't function. But yeah, ear canal. No, hearing nerve is the thing. That wasn't phase cancellation. That was just butchered with EQ. Okay, maybe. So maybe I'm kind of pointing something out after all. It's muddy and too dark and gritty, and we need some more high frequencies. Let's leave it at that. And it also felt kind of empty, but you know, it made me feel things about myself I don't like feeling, so let's move along. Not a bad piece of music at all. It's not, but yeah. It's now 10:15. It's now 10:15. So let's go into the Amaran app. Let's watch the stream. Amaran, there we are. Shortcuts. No, I never made one. And they changed this freaking thing again. Boom, we're going with the blue light. We're going after dark. I'm supposed to do this for 2 hours between 8 and 10 my time. Now it's 10:15. Let's do 2 more tracks. And please help me out. Do we have someone in the chat room just waiting to be played who hasn't been played in a while? In that case, don't be afraid to shout yourself out. Make yourself known and tell me that, hey, I've sent in 3 beats and you haven't played it. In that case, you can skip the line, so to speak. Not that there's an actual line, but you know. If you're here for the first time or whatever, you haven't been played, I want to give you the moment. Dunland, right? Didn't you say this before? Mickey Cuts, maybe me. Lawrence, never been played. Okay. I haven't been played for a couple of times. I'm just going to do a screen grab of this right now. First time here. Okay, cool. So I'm going to keep a few names over here that has mentioned themselves. Only been here 4 times. Haven't been played for any submissions, but give the new bloods a go. Thank you, Kane. Kind of understanding the thing. I do appreciate it. I never heard Icon 74. Okay, cool. So I have a screen grab over here with some of y'all. First of all, Master Scratch. Yeah, I think we're going to have to do more than a couple of ones, right? I think we have the time. But the one I said myself in the mail that I saw here, Dunland, said before that he has submitted like 3 times and haven't been played. Are you still here? Even if you're not, I think we're going to play it. Yeah, let's just jump into it. It's a Dropbox link. Cool. And that's fine. That's the download button right there. Oh, I took a second to download. Dunland. Let's give you a little bit of a time to shine. He doesn't seem to be here, but I'm not going to care. I picked this one right now. Dunland, read 140 BPM. Okay. And he also had a message. Just Cubase, Serato sample, and bounce. Okay, cool. Let's go. Okay, so this is cool. It's interesting, and I'm that much of a producer myself that I have to point out that these chords, the notes in these chords, everyone, okay, I asked it in the chat room, no one's talking about the notes in the chords. It's nice. The chords are dope. Some might say that the sub is a bit off. Simple progression as a foundation. What are you talking about? Am I going crazy here? Am I going crazy? Little detune in the chords, but it's a vibe. What are you guys talking about? Made So Well also says, I'm a fan of the dissonance in the chords. Okay, me too. That's what I want to get to. I don't hate the dissonance in the chords, but that no one points it out until I do. I mean, it's not like a little bit of dissonance. Every single chord is crazy. Okay, to me, I think it's cool and I appreciate it. But I think a lot of people who aren't music producers themselves or musicians of any sort, with just a little bit of, a sense of what a note is and what it's supposed to be, I think a lot of people could be scared off by this. Because it's dissonant. Yeah. Some people could just feel like it's out of tune, There's a lot of spicy notes, a lot of tension, a lot of vibes. But for someone who doesn't really understand and knows and kind of has the perspective, I think this could be a tough pill to swallow. That's jazz. Yeah, it's jazz and it's sloppy. Sure. But according to me, it's taken a little bit too far. And now I try to play it in mono and stereo. It's not that. I don't hate it, but I think it needs to be pointed out that all of these chords are spicy. But of course, I mean, the production in general here is cool. The upright bass stands out, and the drums is definitely the huge thing here. The drums adds the whole vibe that makes everything just sound like a beat, and it sounds really dope. And yeah, I gotta say it flat out. It's not just like not musician people. I have a hard time listening to this because it's that kind of out of tune, out of pitch. It's that spicy. It's that dissonant. I find it almost scary and unsettling in a way that I don't hate. But, listening to this like casually in the background while having a conversation with someone, that wouldn't work for me. It just wouldn't. I would not be able to not notice this. Just imagine sitting in a bar or whatever, having a conversation with someone at a restaurant, whatever, and this in the background. Musically, it's cool. The bass line stands out, I love it, and the drums, I love them. The chords, a little bit too much to me, for my taste. But I'm also stupid. Use it sparsely. Yeah. Kane TV says, not every dissonance means it's jazz. This is very off from a musical standpoint, progression-wise. Thank you, Kane. I'm not having another stroke, right? I had a stroke too, but to me, this feels very out of key, very off tune. And to me, as just a listener, this would be too strange to kind of have on in the background. As a musical piece, as a piece of art, I don't have anything against this. This is cool. But I said what I said, and I meant it. Let's move along. This took too long, but it's interesting. And he calls himself a jazz trap producer. I think the drums here is, you are making some great drums. So let's go back to my screenshot over here to where people feel like they haven't been played. Lawrence One Tree, never been played. Lawrence One Tree. Let's see if we can find you here. Lawrence. Let's give you a shot. Lawrence One Tree says, this is the only track with a feature that's going on my upcoming tape, 20 to the Dome Volume 4. It's the lead single, so any changes to the beat I can make now should be known. Thanks for your help. Okay, so this feels like more of a situation. If you need to do something about the beat, you want to do it now. Okay, cool. So we all have even more of a responsibility with this guy. Lawrence One Tree. One Tree Hill? No, that's not it. 1-3. Lawrence 1-3. So Lawrence 13. Kane TV is definitely wrong. Okay, are you guys fighting now in the chat about this? I would find that to be funny. You're definitely not wrong. Okay. So you're not fighting. Yeah. No fighting going on. People doesn't even seem to have different opinions. Now we have this track from Lawrence, and let's go.
For the Congo, cobalt, silicon flow while they bomb the Gaza Strip and finish plans to build a condo. Can't afford a Bronco, can't stand the rain, ain't got no poncho. Man never changed, yeah, from Donald to AMLO, Macron to Picasso, with Herzog to Netanyahu. My soul remains on glow. I shine for my folk before from off this globe. I have to slide like a trombone. One life is not long, but generation trauma lives on though. I'm trying to astro project the forgotten ghosts of Lumumba ensemble, resurrect Floyd and Amadou Diallo. Soon the whole squad will be in Cabo, eating shrimp tacos with the narcos. Black like charcoal, fuck McDonald's. But I take a number 7 combo with a large coke. Diabetic chemical high, the food is on dope. Debt playing chess with your mind till your future palm broke. Say word, that's how the cage bird song go. Black like Okonkwo, can't turn back, motherfucker. You done opened up the wrong door.
Cool stuff. I mean, this is high quality stuff right here. This is good shit, for real. Came in from who? From Lawrence 1-3. The only track with a feature that's going on my upcoming beat tape. It's the lead single, so any changes to the beat I can make now should be known. Okay. I think this sounds great to me. Great. When we are in this kind of forum and listening to a lot of instrumental beats, to me right now, I might be wrong, but to me right now it feels like the vocal here maybe takes the overhand a little bit too much in the mix. I would take it down just a notch, but it's also a rap track. So the rapper is supposed to be heard. I understand that. And it's a balance, you know, it's fine balance to try to find the right relationship between the beat and the rapper. I would take down the rapper a little bit for this one. The way I feel right now. I might feel differently tomorrow. Don't take too much into that. Don't read too much into that. But in terms of the beat, I mean, since I feel like the rapper is a little bit too loud, I want some of the frequencies that could crash with the rapper to be a little bit louder. That could also be a way to balance it. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily the right thing to do. It's the way I feel right now. Yeah, that's some dilated people stuff right there.
For the Congo, cobalt, silicon flow while they bomb the Gaza Strip and finish plans to build a condo. Can't afford a Bronco, can't stand the rain, ain't got no poncho. Man never changed, yeah, from Donald to AMLO, Macron to Macron.
And it's obvious that you put some thought into this mix, because this kick drum is not really that cool. But together with this bass line, you kind of need to put the kick drum above that in terms of frequencies, which makes a lot of sense. But the kick drum, I would have loved to hear a different kind of kick drum. Maybe that's not possible. I don't know.
Also with Herzog to Netanyahu, my soul remains on glow. I shine for my folk before from off this globe. I have to slide like a trombone.
Love the snare. Love the sample. Love the sample. The whole melody. Great stuff. Talking about maybe tweaking the EQ on the main sample a little bit to make it a little bit more competing a little bit with the rapper. You need to give the rapper a lot of space. I understand that. It's all... I mean, you are on a really high level. This is really good stuff. I'm not even the right person to try to give you any feedback on this. But if I would try to say something, I would say to kind of tweak the balance between the beat and the main sample and the rapper a little bit. I might be wrong. What are you guys saying? The vocal feels very unglued. Yeah, maybe that's what I'm saying in a different way. Lawrence agrees on what? Agreed on what? I'm just talking here. Who is it? That's what I'm asking too. Okay. In Germany, we have a word called Schleimer. I don't know. Yeah, and the MC here, I mean, the rapper is good. The rapper is good for sure.
And Yahoo, my soul remains on glow. I shine for my folks before from off this globe. I have to slide like a trombone. One life is not long, but generation trauma lives on though. I'm trying to astro project the forgotten ghosts of Lumumba. Ensemble resurrect Floyd and Amadou Diallo. Soon the whole squad will be in Cabo, eating shrimp tacos with the narcos. Black like charcoal, fuck McDonald's. But I take a number 7 combo with a large coke. Diabetic chemical high, the food is on dope. Debt plane.
Fuck McDonald's. That's cool. It's a fire fucking track. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that anything just needs to be done with it just to say it. I'm trying to say something just to add a little bit of feedback because I think something could be fixed. Someone said that the vocal is not glued in there, and that's basically what I'm trying to say, but I'm saying it how I would treat it, you know. There's a couple super chats. A super chat from Rockwell. I missed that one. Always grateful for these moments we get to spend together. Me too, Rockwell. This is awesome. And people are complaining about the ducking. To me, maybe that's one of the things here that makes the beat and the rapper makes them not really glued together, because the ducking that's going on grabbed the vocals, I guess. Off topic, where you from? What's that accent? I'm from Sweden. Man. This accent is me trying to speak English but being Swedish. You know. Men jag kan inte heller bara switcha över och bara prata svenska. Det är ingen som hade fattat det. Så vi ska inte prata svenska. Vi ska prata engelska. Eller hur? And that's what it sounds like when I speak Swedish in my relaxed kind of way. I'm not the only super chat. What? There's another super chat I've missed? From Made So Well. Always made so well with the super chats. Are you like a millionaire? I don't get it. You do super chats every time, and I really appreciate it. Not gonna say anything else, but you know. Thank you. When people are talking about gluing things in a mix, like the vocals in this case, I totally feel, what do they mean? I totally feel what they mean, but how would you glue the vocals in this case? Accurate. I mean, there's so many ways to go about it. Compression is like the main way, I guess. But to me, you know me, I don't always love talking about plugins. I don't do a lot of content on my channel about, this new free reverb, whatever. Because making music, making beats, doing mixes of tracks even with rappers and stuff, you should never have to rely on tools like compression. Compression is really important, of course. But I think just scooping out the right frequency ranges in the different kind of elements is what gluing it together is to me. You can take it really far with something like a like a multi-band EQ. Of course, that's pretty much the same thing, but what I'm saying, what I'm talking about, gluing things together, it's a combination of things. But much of it, in my book, has to do with EQ, different frequency ranges, and finding the balance, and then the overall volume of things. Because if you find the right balance between what to take out of a beat to kind of complement the rapper and vice versa, then everything's all good. Then you're glued together and it feels glued and nice. And a lot of the final gluing happens with something like a brick wall limiter or a mastering kind of compressor, for sure. But everything before that is more important to me. Gluing things together, to me, has more to do with frequencies and EQ and volume than anything else. If that answers your question. How you do it depends on the case. It all depends on the instruments and the rapper or the singer or whatever it might be, or even for instrumental music. I think gluing things together is like a huge part of the art form, because anyone can just throw this instrument and this instrument together, making them sound well together. That's where the musicality comes in. There's where the mixing and the producing comes in. Sorry for the rant, but that's my answer. This track, dope. What doesn't glue this one together is that the vocal feels like you have the beat right here and then you have the vocal. I want the vocal to be with the beat. Maybe that's just finding the balance in volume and scooping out some frequencies from whatever to fit whatever. Definitely better if you can avoid sidechain or compression to sound right. The tools definitely have a place, but shouldn't be the sound. That's what I'm trying to say too. Compression is a tool, and honestly, very, very few people understand the exact in and outs of a compressor. Very few people do. A lot of people with home studios just talking about compression for days, and the gain staging is not right, and then everything gets messed up. Or you're trying to apply a plugin with a preset on something that's not made for it, and it all just falls apart. It's all about numbers. It's all about the mathematics of it all. And to me, that's not what it's supposed to be. You have to start working on things one step ahead of that, one step before, with the actual mix, with the different frequency ranges, making things blend together. Gain staging is a huge part of it, for sure. Yeah. Fuck sidechain ducking, especially in boom bap. Better without it. I think there's a time and a place for sidechaining, for sure. When we're talking about like producing a track with a rapper, one thing could be to just add a sidechaining between the vocal and the beat to have things ducking. And that's the worst example ever. Some people actually do that, and it always sounds like absolute garbage. Now, we got my voice again. And by the way, I need to mention this. Someone said something about this. Okay. Someone said something about this. I'm just gonna have to go there for a second. And we're gonna play more music and do more beat reviews. I'm not in a rush. But this needs to be talked about just for a second. I haven't mentioned this yet, but since the 1st of July to today, which is the 6th of October, I've lost 13 kilos. 13 kilos in pounds? Well, I don't even know what that is. Can someone help me out, or do I need to... I need to brag a little bit. I can be proud of this. Damn, that conversion scheme is hard. Help me out. 14 kilos. What's that in pounds? I've lost that since the 1st of July. And I'm drinking a hell out of this. I'm drinking shitloads of Coca-Cola Zero, Pepsi Max, whatever I do that's not sugar. And to me, it works, and it's the one thing that I kept in my diet that I'm allowing myself to drink because it doesn't have any sugar. A lot of bad stuff, I know, but I also used to smoke back in the day. I'm taking care of myself, and I've lost 14 kilos so far, which is 28 pounds, 31 pounds. I don't know. I'm proud of it. I think it's good for me in so many ways. 28.6 pounds. Cool. So I lost 28 pounds since the 1st of July. I'm still big, but I used to be bigger. And I have more to drop. Made so well, dropped 25 pounds. That's cool. That's cool. Do you feel better? I feel a lot better. Of course, I feel a lot better. And the only thing I've done, I haven't exercised anything. This is all diet. I stopped eating pasta, rice, bread, any type of fast carbs at all. Some type of LCHF diet, but my vegetarian version of it. So the next step would be to start exercising on top of that. That's besides the point. We're not here to talk about me and my weight issues and whatever. Lawrence 13, that's a fire track. We already said stuff about gluing the mix together. I hope you got something out of that. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Someone who hasn't been played, according to himself, is Master Scratch. It's my fourth time today. And you haven't been played? Is that true? Master Scratch? I think we played you. But it might have been a while ago. Master Scratch. Let's see where you are. Hello, Accurate. I'm a 30-year-old Bulgarian beatmaker, also known as Master Scratch. I've started making beats since I was 13, mainly using Reason most of my life. And I'm just getting into Reason myself again. So, cool. Last year, I switched to standalone units, and now I own an MPC Live 2. So here's the beat. So here's the beats. One is made with Reason 12, and the other with MPC Live 2. I'm just going to pick one. And let's take the one called Toxic. So let's all have a listen to Toxic from Master Scratch. And also, everyone, thank you for congratulating me on the weight loss. I do see it in the chat room, and thank you. Means a lot. And it feels good. Master Scratch, where are you? Toxic, boom, into the track. Master Scratch. Here we go.
You're dangerous. I'm loving it. Too high, can't come down. Losing my head, spinning round and round. Do you see don't you know that
Okay, man. That's about 2 minutes of it. That's cool. I'm not sure if that was Britney Spears' version of it or something else, like pitched down and just dragged out. A really cool effect. Really cool effect, and it sounded really cool. But then when the beat came in, it kind of felt like, that's a different project. And you just put two things together, and I think that's totally fine. When we're talking about like spicy notes and dissonance and whatever, this is on my on the right side of my threshold, so to speak. Because there's a lot of extra notes and harmonies and stuff going on, and it doesn't hurt the track whatsoever. It just adds to it. And I appreciate that. I think that's cool. But, we're all like beat making nerds and geeks and whatever, and sometimes, to me, simple is better. And sometimes you just, less is more, is what you say, right? That's how the saying goes. Less is more. When it comes to the drum programming here, it's impressive, it's cool, it's interesting, but it becomes a little bit much. That's what I feel like, to be totally honest. Some sections are more or less straight, and then we have to me, there's so much vibes and so good moods and stuff going on in the chords and everything else that's happening with the bass and stuff, that the drums becomes a little bit too crazy. It's creative and it's nice and it's cool, but it's honestly a little bit much. That's what I'm trying to say. The mix is off on this one. Maybe it is. Sure, you could balance the mix differently and using the drums more. But since the drum programming is so intricate and so much stuff going on, I feel like if we had more volume and more punch in the drums, it would be even more difficult. The idea here is really cool. The toxic sample fits in there and it makes the entire thing memorable. But the beat that goes on then is also interesting and nice, but maybe chill with the drums a little bit. Master Scratch says I was kind of scared to give them a little bit more punch. Yeah, and I understand why. And I think that's the right choice. I think that's the right choice. If you want the drums to be this busy and this involved in everything, making them more punchy would kind of defeat the purpose, I think. If you want them to be this busy, they can't be much more than this when it comes to the sound of them. But this is cool. The main idea here of using that sample is nice, for sure. Maybe the snare, I think it's more like the snare roll that comes in and the effects and stuff. It's, to me as a beat maker, I see what you did and I think it's cool. But for a listener, it might be a little bit too much. Sometimes you just need to take it down and just keep it simple. Parts of this is simple, but maybe not simple enough for me. Whatever. And I'm noticing that I'm starting to talk really long about every single submission, and that's the opposite of what I need right now. It's almost 11 o'clock. We're going to play one more. Can I say that? Adam. I'm gonna play one more track. We're gonna do one more beat review, the last one for tonight. And I don't want to be too unfair. Satish, my first time here. Yeah, that's the guy from. You okay? Sorry, I didn't pick up on that. That's the guy from this. I'm gonna send you an email. We need to talk a little bit, but sure. Satish is here from Black BT. He sent me a Bollywood beat. I think we gotta hear that, right? He's the maker of this one. We need to talk about this one. This might be a video in itself. It might not be actually, but we need to talk. But for now, Satish, yes, I noticed you. Thank you. In the next section, will you continue or do we need to send new ones? New ones. I'm sorry. I have struggled with this ever since we started. And finding the perfect way to do this is impossible. But going back to the back catalog, that's not, it's not feasible. Satish, let's find you in this email. In this inbox. Let's play him, and just because I kind of know him, we've been in touch. It feels like cheating, so we need to do someone else too. We're gonna play him, and we're gonna play someone else. So 2 people. People are leaving. KNTV, Bollywood. I'm out. Okay. Bollywood is not. To me, at least, Bollywood is not one single genre. It could be so many different things. But we're going to play this one. He calls it Indian Groove 68 from Satish in the chat. And again, we have been in touch. I kind of know the guy, so this one doesn't count as a submission like that, but it still kind of does. I'm going to play one more after this. This one and one more. Now, let's give him a little bit of a listen. And it's only 57 seconds long. So. And for some reason, my volume is way down. Okay, hey. You know what? This might be problematic. When it comes to music, I think it's the whole thing with like cultural appropriation is a difficult kind of subject because this guy is making Bollywood music and he has the roots down there. Right now, I can't remember where you live, my guy. I'm sorry about that. It's just a loop I made for a Bollywood song. Okay, cool. Someone like me, who's that like indoctrinated with American culture, immediately I start thinking about Timbaland. And that's not fair, because he's not from there, and that's not what he does. He just grabs samples and inspirations and stuff. But there's something about the bounciness of this drum programming that makes me think about Timbaland in a way that I think makes sense. You know? Okay, everything is all fucked up. Everything is all fucked up. Why is everything all fucked up? That's even... Oh, Jesus Christ. Where are you? The list has become too long for me to understand. I think it's good. I mean, the drums knocks real hard and it's cool. It's unfortunate that I can't stop thinking about Timbaland, right? Because Timbaland's he's an asshole. We all know that. Timbaland's an asshole. And what he kind of represents today is something we kind of just don't stand for at all. But he kind of, we got to give him that. He kind of took this Indian culture, that kind of music, and also some Arabic stuff and Oriental, whatever, and brought that into his kind of thing. In a way that's not necessarily bad, always. This one is made by Sadish for a Bollywood production, whatever, and it's cool. The 808 drums works in this tempo with the double tempo bounciness, and the melody is, you know, it's nice. Something about it doesn't really translate. But it's good. I mean, it's a high quality thing. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Do you mean AI music? Yes, I do. I definitely mean AI music. We haven't talked much about AI, and I don't want to open that can of worms because it's a whole thing. But as far as we know, Timbaland's an asshole. And that's, you know, some people are. Sadish, thanks a lot for sending this one in. I did not see you participating in this, but I think it's really cool. You're more than welcome, and it's awesomely fun to have you here. Great, 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 great. Now, I did mention Adam, and he got excited, so we're going to play Adam, and we're going to play Icon. Icon 74, you have submitted a beat, and you haven't been played, at least in a while. Icon 74 here. Okay, Icon, which one? The Gloom or Blam? You're going to have to type quickly now. The Gloom or Blam, because you sent me 2 files and I'm just going to play one. One is a bit dark, the Gloom, and one is more light, Blam. Choose whichever you want. Okay, if I just read the email, choose whichever you want. And Adam, you're going to be played, for sure. As the last track. I'm not going to take more. And he chooses Blam. Let's do Blam, which is the more light one. Okay, cool. Icon 74, the track is called Blam. Let's fucking go. And I lost you. There you are. Blam. I mean, come on. This is also a different kind of way to arrange a beat, you know? Making a loop or two of them and then just putting stuff in between that's not necessarily drums or whatever. Someone said something funny. Made so well. Tom Waits and a rapper. Yeah. I mean, this vibe. Rum, dum, da, dum, rum, dum, da, dum. It's cool. Using that for a beat is something that kind of never struck me as an option. So it's cool that you did it. And this is nice. I also see what you did here with the extra little percussions, the bell and everything that went on. Interesting and cool. If you wouldn't have done any of that, it would have been just Oompa Loompas. It wouldn't have been as interesting. So to me, that's, you know, someone taking their producer glasses and just finding a way to add some spice to it. And it's nice. It has a cool vibe. I'm not sure I mean, you couldn't use a rapper on this one, right? Yeah, maybe you could. A really animated rapper in a super cool music video with, like, you know, someone mentioned him too. That movie producer that my daughter loves, Tim Burton. It has a little bit of a Tim Burton-esque vibe. And you know, the bass follows the dum, 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 dum. It's smart. It's not. It's interesting. It's cool and creative, and maybe not something I would listen to each and every day, but it's a cool piece of work. 100%. I could double time on this. Oh. Yeah, I mean, imagine someone like Busta Rhymes back in the day, like doing this whole flip mode squad kind of thing on this. Would not hate that. Wouldn't. As a beat in itself, I'm not sure that it stands its ground enough, but, you know. Rockwell, that's the only way. Double time. Cool. Now, we have to move into the last submission for today, which comes from Adam. Let's just type Adam. Adam is the last beat that we're going to play today. We have done this for 1 hour more than I expected. I normally think 2 hours, and I know myself, so it's going to be 2.5 hours. Now we're over 3 hours, which is, you know, not necessarily a good thing, but that's what we did. Hello, Mr. Accurate. I trust you're well. My name is Adam. I reside in the north side of England. I'm a fan of yours and I watch your content. I was just watching your live show on YouTube and thought I would send a beat as well. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. A really, really nice message too. Which is always a nice bonus. Songbook in the Sky #2 from Adam. And Adam seems to be excited to be played. Forgive me if it's ass. Why should it be ass? You know? Oh, should we do a Halloween challenge for the next beat review? Well, that's not a bad idea. Then I could submit something myself. Next episode will be on the 20th and the one after that is on the 3rd. I guess Halloween is like the 31st. So, you know what? I'm just gonna call it. Damn it. Can we do that? We haven't done any themes or anything before, which allows you to send in beats that you made like 4 years ago, and that's fine. But for this, a Halloween beat. Let's do a poll. We don't have that many people watching right now. 50 people watching. We're going to do a poll. And it's going to take me 10 minutes to set that up because I suck. Poll. Halloween beats for next episode. Let's also put the date in there. 20th of boom. Didn't quite take me 10 minutes, but still. Please reply to the poll. That could be cool. I like the idea, but I'm not sure it's going to work, but whatever. Now, let's get into the last beat for today by Adam. We're going to play it right now. Let's go for it, Adam. Well, that's more than 2 minutes of Adam's track right there. You know what, Adam? Thanks a lot for submitting this track and this kind of nice ending to this live stream. That's a good beat to go out on, 100%. I mean, it's nice and solid. It's kind of spooky, as we're talking about the theme. The choirs is like the main character here for sure. Using those types of choirs together with, I'm not sure if I heard like pizzicato strings or a muted electric guitar. Pizzicato strings is one of those things that I have kind of a difficult time hearing because, you know, it's so obvious. you didn't record strings, and that's fine. But they almost always sound really artificial. In this case, I'm not sure if it was pizzicato strings or a muted guitar, which means that it flew under my radar. I accept it. But, could this beat be spiced up with a little bit more swing? Yeah, I think it could. Does it necessarily make it better? Maybe not. But it's nice and straightforward and a nice ending of the show. Now I'm getting cranky because we've done this for 3 hours. So the cranky accurate says it could have been more interesting, but maybe I'm wrong. The choir is so cool here. Or the choirs, I should say, because there's layers of them. And also, this is the first beat today with a little bit of scratching, and we gotta acknowledge that. And again, a word I like these days is tasteful. And I think everything here was tasteful, properly done, and the scratching too. Because, there's nothing I hate more than scratch being like all over the place, being too obnoxious. Scratch has a time and a place. I know I've overdone it myself, but this amount of scratch on a production like this, tasteful. I'm not even sure it's real scratching, and I'm not even sure I care. It's used in a nice way that makes sense. Logic stock plugins. Even the choir? Cool. Cool. I like how the bass line just complements everything. This is a nice solid track. The cranky part of me feels like it's maybe a little bit bland and a little bit boring, but I'm cranky right now. It's a sample. It is? Okay, cool. You chopped it up, it's a sample. Cool. Thank you, Adam. You have been... Thank you, Adam. You have been played, and you made a good submission and a perfectly fine way to end the show. Definitely. But before we say goodnight and just leave to go to bed, at least for me, because now it's 11:20, let's check out this poll. Halloween beat for the next episode, 20th of October. Spooky yes and spooky no. And spooky yes got 87% of the votes. Spooky yes got 87% of the votes. And 30 people voting out of 45 watching right now. Oh, that's something. That's cool. And to me, that's, that's an obvious yes. We're going to do the first ever themed episode of Beat Review next week. And what I said in the beginning of the show is still gonna... Or is it? Yeah, what I said in the beginning of the show is still on. You can't submit a beat way before. You have to submit the beat as we go live. 8 o'clock my time, and the other times are obviously in the Instagram posts and on my website and stuff. So next week, only spooky beats. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sample, a ho 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 type of track. You don't have to sample something that's Halloween themed, but the track itself needs to be spooky somehow. So yeah, spooky beats next episode, the 20th of October. I'm going to put that on social media and stuff as soon as I can tomorrow. But yeah, next week, Halloween theme. And it's not that I'm gonna discard anything that doesn't feel super spooky. It's just let's all aim for making something spooky over the next 2 weeks. Something spooky and scary and, sample something from a horror movie, or don't. Just use minor chords. I don't know. Do whatever you think fits the theme of the spooky season, the Halloween. I did a live stream last year around Halloween, and I had this big, like, plushy pumpkin. I'm gonna grab that again, and I'm not gonna go crazy like decorating a studio, but we're gonna have at least one pumpkin in here. Got so many dark beats to go through. Yeah, do that. If you have like a bunch of dark beats dark is not good enough. It has to be spooky and scary. Dark for real. Every beat I ever made. Okay, cool. So that's the challenge for next episode in 2 weeks on the 20th. Okay. On October 20th. Can't speak for shit now. But, this stream is over. We did Beat Review episode 2645. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 beats. We went through 20 tracks today. I think that's good, even though it took 3.5 hours. Whatever. I had the time, and some of you people stayed here, so that's good. Next week, no Beat Review show, but next episode, Halloween theme. Now it's up to 82, down to 82, 87 before. I'm gonna stop the voting. Just sample the dark soundtrack. Yeah, we had a lot of bangers today. Nate G, that's right. We had a lot of good stuff, a lot of bangers, a lot of really good stuff. We also had some stuff today that was from beginners, and some stuff that had things that needed to be changed. And I think that's awesome. We need a balance between high quality stuff and things that obviously needs to be improved somehow to reach the level of greatness. And Rockwell is shouting out the Discord. Yeah, we need more people in the actual in the Discord. I don't know where that link is, or maybe it's right here. Yes, the Discord link is in the in the subscription for this video. The Discord link is in the description of this stream. It's down there. It says join the Discord, and it's discord.gg/VQ. I'm kidding. Check it out. It is a Discord channel, and there's not a lot of people there, but the ones who are there are some of the best people around. 100%. So go join the Discord and hang out and talk about stuff. I'm there as much as I can sometimes, and sometimes I just don't care. That's what it is. So thanks a lot for hanging out tonight. Thanks a lot for all the submissions. You guys are fantastic. Awesome, talented beat makers, most of you, and great people, all of you. I love this concept. I really appreciate having this little hangout every other week. Don't forget, in 2 weeks, we're doing Halloween beats. Everything needs to be scary, spooky, something like that. Dark and gritty. For now, I'm leaving. Thanks a lot for tonight. This was another episode of Beat Review, and peace the fuck out.